Reports out there yesterday that the Cavs are exploring possible sign and trade options.
Stepping away from everything else for a moment, because the NBA offseason has just taken a turn that almost nobody expected. Reports coming out of Cleveland suggest the Cavaliers are putting together a move that is incredibly strategic, highly aggressive, and emotionally significant. It's the kind of development that has grabbed the attention of front offices all across the league. According to multiple reports, Cleveland is prepared to create roster space for Bronny James as part of a larger effort to convince LeBron James to return home. And once LeBron became aware of what the Cavaliers were quietly working on, many believe it shifted the direction of his free agency decision. But here's the part that many people aren't focusing on. This goes beyond basketball. What Cleveland appears to be doing is much more complicated, much more debated, and carries a deeper emotional element than simply adding another player. At the center of it all is LeBron's own son, Bronny James, who has become part of the recruitment strategy. Meanwhile, LeBron James, one of the most calculated decision-makers professional sports has ever seen, is watching every move unfold. So let's take a closer look at the strategy, the response, the financial side, the bigger ethical discussion, and what all of this could mean for where LeBron spends what may be the final chapter of his NBA career. Here's what the available reporting actually tells us. The information comes from two of the most respected reporters covering the NBA, Mark Stein and Jake Fisher. Writing for the Steinmine on July 4th, they outlined what Cleveland has been doing since free agency officially opened. According to their report, many around the league expected the Cavaliers to complete a new contract with James Harden, while also making an aggressive push for Jonathan Kuminga. Neither move ended up happening. Instead, Cleveland's only addition during the opening stretch of free agency was signing veteran backup center Thomas Bryant to a minimum contract. That was the extent of their activity. Meanwhile, Dean Wade departed for Philadelphia, Keon Ellis joined Brooklyn, and the Cavaliers allowed both rotation players to leave without making what appeared to be serious efforts to keep them. According to Stein and Fisher, league sources believe there is a clear reason behind that approach. Cleveland is intentionally keeping roster space available so that if LeBron James decides to return, the organization can quickly pursue a trade for Bronny James from the Lakers. Veteran ESPN reporter Brian Windhorst, who has covered LeBron throughout his career, has discussed a similar possibility. Stein and Fisher even noted that the rumor circulating around league circles is that Cleveland wants enough open roster spots to acquire Bronny if LeBron ultimately signs with the Cavaliers. That's more than random speculation. From their reporting, it reflects what many league observers view as a deliberate organizational strategy. When you connect each of those moves, the overall picture becomes much easier to understand. Cleveland isn't simply waiting patiently through free agency. The organization appears to be positioning itself for one very specific outcome, with Bronny James playing a major role in that plan. If that assessment is accurate, it would suggest Cleveland's strategy, keeping roster spots available while potentially pairing LeBron with Bronny, is beginning to gain real traction. And this is where the bigger picture becomes even more interesting. According to the reports, LeBron James informed the Los Angeles Lakers that he would not return after the 2025-26 season. Following that announcement, Jeannie Buss released a statement describing LeBron as one of the greatest athletes of all time, while thanking him for 8 memorable seasons in Los Angeles. She also recognized the 2020 NBA championship, calling it an achievement earned under some of the most difficult circumstances imaginable. LeBron responded with a respectful message of his own, saying it had been an honor to wear the purple and gold, while doing his best to honor the legends who came before him. It was the kind of farewell that acknowledged everything both sides accomplished together, while making it clear that a new chapter was beginning. LeBron officially entered unrestricted free agency, as many around the league believe he approaches the final stage of one of the greatest careers basketball has ever seen.
At 41 years old and preparing for a record-setting 24th NBA season, his priorities may no longer revolve solely around chasing another championship. The numbers help explain why. Reports have stated that LeBron invests more than $1.5 million every year into maintaining his body, including recovery equipment, specialized nutrition, medical professionals, and advanced sleep programs. That commitment has allowed him to continue performing at an elite level despite reportedly dealing with issues such as arthritis and sciatica. Even so, everyone around the NBA understands that time is becoming a bigger factor. Many league insiders expect his next contract, wherever he signs, to be a 1- or 2-year agreement rather than another long-term deal. It would resemble the type of farewell contract seen in other sports, designed to provide financial security while bringing a legendary career to a fitting conclusion. LeBron's longtime agent, Rich Paul, the founder of Clutch Sports, recently appeared on the Game Over podcast with Max Kellerman. During the conversation, he displayed a whiteboard listing 10 teams that he considered legitimate possibilities for LeBron. Those franchises included the Knicks, 76ers, Celtics, Heat, Warriors, Timberwolves, Nuggets, Spurs, Mavericks, and of course, the Cleveland Cavaliers. When Forbes reporter Mark Medina asked Paul about when a decision could be expected, his response was simple: nothing was happening immediately. LeBron intends to be patient. He's carefully observing everything, weighing every possibility and considering every detail. Naturally, Cleveland's reported plan involving Bronny James is believed to be one of the factors under consideration. To fully understand why Bronny sits at the center of this conversation, you first have to understand what he means to LeBron beyond basketball. That story started years before the NBA draft. Bronny attended Sierra Canyon School in Los Angeles, where his high school games regularly attracted national television coverage and media attention that many college programs would envy. He later spent one season at USC, carrying the enormous pressure that comes with being LeBron James's son in the same city where his father had already become a basketball icon. Then, during the summer before his freshman season, the basketball world stood still after Bronny suffered a cardiac arrest during a workout at USC. His recovery was long, challenging, and incredibly emotional for his entire family. Through determination and resilience, Bronny fought his way back, earning widespread respect throughout the basketball community for his perseverance, independent of his father's legacy. He eventually declared for the 2024 NBA Draft, where the Los Angeles Lakers selected him in the second round.
Fifth pick in the 2024 NBA Draft, the Los Angeles Lakers select Bronny James from the University of Southern California.
Stepping onto the same NBA roster, LeBron James and Bronny James made history as the first father-son duo ever to play for the same team at the same time. It was a moment LeBron had spoken about publicly for years, and once it finally became reality, he didn't hesitate to say it ranked among the greatest accomplishments of his career, even alongside his championship victories. Bronny's current contract with the Lakers is a 4-year agreement valued at approximately $7.9 million. For the 2026-27 season, he is set to earn around $2.3 million, and that salary became fully guaranteed after June 29, 2026. That date ends up being one of the most important details in this entire story. LeBron didn't reveal that he was leaving Los Angeles until after his son's contract for the upcoming season was completely secured. He waited intentionally, ensuring Bronny's financial future was protected before making his own decision public. Around the league, many insiders interpreted that timeline exactly the same way, a father putting his son's security ahead of his own career move. But there's another key detail that completely changes how Cleveland's reported plan would have to work. Bronny James isn't entering free agency. He's already under contract with the Lakers through the 2026-27 season. That means the Cavaliers can't simply offer him a contract or invite him to sign. If Cleveland wants Bronny in a Cavaliers uniform, it would have to complete a trade with Los Angeles. According to an analysis from Bleacher Report, one of the trade concepts receiving attention would use a previously created traded player exception tied to Jarrett Allen's contract. Under that proposal, Cleveland would send Jarrett Allen, Dennis Schroeder, Dean Wade, and Sam Merrill to Los Angeles. In return, the Cavaliers would receive LeBron James, Bronny James, DeAndre Ayton, Jake LaRavia, and Dalton Knecht. LeBron would reportedly agree to a 3-year contract worth roughly $63 million, paying about $20 million in the opening season, with the understanding that he might not ultimately play through the entire length of the agreement. That type of structure wouldn't be unusual, as veteran stars in several sports have accepted similar contracts focused more on security than long-term commitments. Once a move like that is completed, Cleveland would trigger the league's first apron hard cap, projected to be around $29.1 million. As a result, the front office would have to finish building the roster using the taxpayer mid-level exception, estimated at roughly $6.1 million, along with veteran minimum contracts. This isn't a straightforward deal. It requires significant financial maneuvering. It means moving players like Allen, Schroeder, Merrill, while also restructuring Cleveland's payroll to make everything fit. Based on the reporting, the Cavaliers appear willing to absorb every one of those costs if it gives them a realistic opportunity to reunite with LeBron. As Bronny continues trying to establish himself, his future is now being discussed by front offices as part of a much larger recruitment strategy. Without having any control over the conversation, his name and contract have become valuable pieces in negotiations centered far more on his father than on his own basketball ability. Many voices around the NBA have criticized that reality. They argue Cleveland's reported approach reduces Bronny to a trade asset instead of recognizing him as a young player, continuing a pattern where major moments in his career have largely been shaped by circumstances beyond his control. From being drafted to beginning his career with the Lakers and now potentially becoming part of a deal involving Cleveland, critics believe Bronny remains the person with the least influence over where his own career goes. It's a viewpoint that many believe deserves serious consideration. On the other hand, plenty of league insiders see the situation very differently. They point out that LeBron James has openly talked about his dream of sharing the court with his son for years. He never tried to hide that goal. Long before Bronny entered the NBA, LeBron discussed it during interviews, podcasts, and press conferences. From that perspective, Cleveland isn't taking advantage of a private family matter. Instead, the organization is responding to a well-known personal priority expressed by one of the biggest stars the game has ever seen, while still attempting to construct a roster capable of competing at the highest level. The Cavaliers already feature Donovan Mitchell, one of the Eastern Conference's elite offensive talents. They also have Evan Mobley, whose defensive versatility has made him one of the league's most valuable young big men. Sliding LeBron into the power forward spot, with Mobley shifting naturally to center, creates a lineup that many believe fits together extremely well. In that setting, Bronny wouldn't be expected to carry the franchise. He could continue growing at his own pace, learn alongside his father, and contribute on a legitimate championship contender. Looking at it that way, supporters argue Cleveland isn't exploiting the situation. They're simply trying to help fulfill LeBron's long-standing dream while strengthening their roster at the same time. Now, let's focus on LeBron's reported reaction, because it's one aspect of this story that hasn't received nearly enough attention. According to multiple people familiar with the situation, LeBron didn't view Cleveland's reported strategy with surprise, flattery, or skepticism. Instead, he viewed it as recognition. He sees a franchise that understands exactly what he's been saying publicly for years and is reorganizing their off-season around making that vision possible. Reporting from the Stein line indicates that several teams pursuing LeBron increasingly believe Cleveland has become what insiders now describe as the leading scenario.
The emotional significance of that possibility is impossible to ignore. LeBron James was raised in Akron, Ohio. The Cavaliers selected him first overall in the 2003 NBA Draft after his legendary career at St. Vincent St. Mary High School. He departed in 2010, spent 4 seasons with the Miami Heat, then returned to Cleveland in 2014. 2 years later, on June 19, 2016, he led the Cavaliers to the city's first major professional sports championship in 52 years, completing a historic comeback from a 3-1 deficit against the winningest regular season team in NBA history. The chase-down block on Andre Iguodala, Kyrie Irving's iconic three-pointer, and the emotional celebration throughout downtown Cleveland became defining images in basketball history. No championship in LeBron's career carries that emotional weight. Because of that, returning to Cleveland wouldn't simply be another basketball move. It would be about deciding how the final chapter of one of the greatest careers in sports history will ultimately be remembered. Cleveland ownership fully understands the value of that story, not only from an emotional standpoint, but from a business perspective as well. The last time LeBron wore a Cleveland jersey, Northeast Ohio experienced an economic boost worth hundreds of millions of dollars through ticket sales, merchandise, tourism, national television exposure, sponsorships, and the worldwide attention that follows LeBron everywhere he goes. The people running the franchise experienced that era firsthand. They remember exactly what it meant. The 4 sold-out arenas, packed hotels, merchandise lines wrapping around city blocks, and franchise valuations soaring to heights that once seemed unimaginable all remind Cleveland of what LeBron's return meant the first time around. If bringing Bronny James to Cleveland is the key to bringing LeBron back for one final season, many around the league believe the financial upside alone makes the investment more than worthwhile. That is why league insiders are describing Bronny not simply as another player on the roster, but as Cleveland's strongest recruiting advantage. He represents something no other NBA franchise currently offers LeBron James. Still, there is another side to this story that executives across the league continue watching very closely.